Always thought-provoking and informative. Forget the spin and media bias from the left and right. We know you are sick and tired of being told what to think, how to act, and what you can and can't do. Direct from the You Stream It Broadcast Network, it's time for another edition of the Last Christian Newscast and Radio Show with your hosts J.D. Williams and T.L. Farley. Real news and biblical common sense analysis starts in 3, 2, 1.
Well, welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us for another edition of the Last Christian Newscast and Radio Show. My name is J.D. Williams, and that stranger that you see in the left-hand frame there, he was and again is my co-host. I'm just kidding. Terry's had some difficult times with his computer over the last couple of days, but Terry, you're back. Welcome back to the show.
I finally figured out how to turn it on, so I think I'm all set.
Well, it's a little bit more complicated than turning it on, but we are really glad that you're here today. And now, I want to show you guys, first of all, the topics that we're going to show today that we plan to talk about. And then I'm going to hit you with some breaking news right off the top. So y'all hang on for just a couple of minutes here, and we'll get to it. But the first thing I want to show you is today on the newscast we're going to discuss the GOG and MAGOG Alliance, and the very first thing that the breaking news that we're going to get to, this is a big part of it. So hang in there with us. The second thing is also going to play into the GOG and MAGOG Alliance, and that is Syria becoming a much larger player in the Middle East. The financial crisis, hey, that could play into it, don't you think, Terry? Just how bad, how bad could finances get, and what could the world do to try and ease it up a little bit? And then, of course, we have that growing concern over the TikTok spying app. We'll get into that. And then there is an alliance between Japan, North Korea, and South Korea. And even I was really didn't realize that there was a problem between Japan and South Korea until now. I didn't realize that they were not exactly close friends until some reporting that I got today. But here is the big one. This is the one that I want to throw out there because it makes a huge difference in the world, in my opinion. And that is this breaking news that the World Court has issued an arrest warrant for the Russian President Vladimir Putin. So, Terry, I'm going to let you comment on what we're going on so far, and then we'll get into it.
Well, the old saying goes in war, you don't tell anybody what you're going to do. Right. And so they're telegraphing their blow. I think, seriously, that Putin is sitting back and laughing at it. I really do. Yeah. I think he's laughing. He's like, who do they think they are? This is actually playing into his hand. He's now got every excuse in the world to do whatever he wants. Right. And I'm not trying to encourage him. Please, Mr. Putin, don't take my word for it. I could be wrong. But anyway.
I don't think he needs any encouragement. I really don't. Yeah. I think, I don't know if laughing about it really describes it the way that I would. I think being angry as all get out would be better.
Could be.
What does the world think that they're going to do? I'm the most powerful man in the world, in my opinion, and I'm going to do what I want, and the world can't do a dadgum thing about it. And if they try, I'll nuke them. I mean, that's kind of the way I look at it.
Yeah.
But anyway, the report itself came out of Amsterdam. Mm-hmm. And it said that the International Criminal Court, the ICC, had issued an arrest warrant for Russian President Vladimir Putin, alleging Moscow's forcible deportation of Ukrainian children being a war crime. So they're not so much interested in all the other stuff that's going on. It's because they deported kids. They call that a war crime. Which it may be, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Now, the parliament speaker in Russia said, Yankees, hands off Putin. He said, we regard any attacks on the president of the Russian Federation as aggression against our country. So, in other words, you try to do this, you're flirting with World War III. I mean, that's the report that I'm getting here. It said that these Russian forces have been accused of multiple abuses during the year-old invasion of the Ukraine, according to the UN, but that Moscow has repeatedly denied these accusations, that they have committed any atrocities during the invasion, which it calls a special military operation. So that's kind of where that's at. But it doesn't do us much good. I mean, they're not focused on just one thing. They never are, never will be. So, Terry, you weren't here for this, I don't think. I in fact, I know you weren't. I ran a video in the last show of 2 Russian jets approaching an American drone over the Black Sea. And this has been reported as a collision between a jet and the drone. I showed the video footage of that, and I saw no strike. There was no actual contact between either jet and the drone. When you watch it, the first drone, as it begins to approach that drone, it shows to pull up, begin to go up in the air. There is a trail behind that jet. Now, we've all seen jet trails, right? We've all seen them. Now, they're claiming that this is fuel, that they were dumping fuel. I see no evidence of that. Having been in the airline industry, this simply looks to me to be a jet stream, a jet trail. Okay, that's what it looks like to me. Now, the aircraft goes over the drone, and you can see the drone shake just a little bit. I mean, because the camera is mounted on the drone, you can see it kind of quiver, but that's all it does. The propeller is continuing to turn, and the drone is continuing to fly. So then it goes on to jet number 2. Jet number 2 is coming at it. Now, remember, the first jet's just gone by. Okay, so chances are that second pilot had to wait for that to occur before he actually saw the drone himself. It would have been blocked by the first jet. So he's getting a little bit closer. There is another jet trail. There's another jet stream behind him. Again, they're saying it's fuel. Maybe. I can't say it's not. Okay, I'm not saying I'm an expert in that field. But to me, it looked like a standard jet stream. He gets much closer, and I mean much closer to the drone, but again, goes up, gets out of the way, does not strike it, and this time the picture really goes bad. I mean, because the shake is, I'm saying the shake is pretty significant, to the point that it goes to those to that screen, where you got lots of colors and all that, and all this, it's all freaking out and all that, and then it comes back on. The camera comes back on. The drone's propeller is continuing to turn, and it's flying smoothly along. So I don't believe that jets hit it. I believe they disturbed it, but I don't believe they hit it. That is my personal opinion, and again, I want to emphasize that is my personal opinion. I base a lot of that on my time in the airline industry, but I'm not saying that I'm an expert in that. So what is being reported and what I'm reporting are different, and you'll just have to make up your own mind. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. Everybody's got a mind. Everybody's got common sense. Everybody can think. Everybody can come up to their own conclusion, and that's what I'm telling people to do. Okay, but let's listen to the actual report now about that. Let's listen to this.
Washington's top general said the crash of a U.S. surveillance drone after being intercepted by Russian jets showed Moscow's increasingly aggressive behavior, while Russia warned Washington that flying drones near Crimea risked escalation.
A day after the U.S. drone went down over the Black Sea, defense ministers and military chiefs from the US and Russia held rare telephone conversations, with relations at their lowest point in decades over Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. Harry Michaels reporting.
Now, again, they say that the drone went down, and that's very possible. That's very possible. In fact, I'll give them that one. I think the drone probably did go down. But there are some other reports coming out on that say that the United States didn't really go look.
Yeah.
Okay. But the Russians did. Yeah. The Russians went right away. And one of the reports that I got was that the United States was saying that they believed that this thing probably just blew up. You know, once it hit the Black Sea, it was done and nothing could be recovered. But they're saying that's what they think, not what they know, what they think. And so while we're thinking about it, Russia is going in and doing something about it. They're looking for it. And if they can find pieces of that, well, you know, just like the National Transportation Safety Board, they can go in and put that thing back together again. Don't think they can't. I was involved in a lot of this stuff. I know how it works, okay? And believe me, they pick up every little piece they can find and they reconstruct it. I mean, completely. So anyway, just something to think about there. Believe it or not, Terry, we're already down to the time where I'm going to give you a couple of minutes, and I'm really glad to do this. It's been a couple of days since Terry's had his computer working to a point. By the way, Terry, just to let you know, I got a joke that was sent to me. Said, "Oh, the rapture happened. Terry went, and you're still here." I got that. I really got that. I really got that. Okay, and I
somebody
said,
out there is paying attention.
Well, you know, and it was a friend of mine. Okay, it was a friend of mine. In full disclosure here, and you know, of course, there was a lot of LOLs and all that stuff in there. Yeah. But anyway, I thought that was funny. I thought you'd get a kick out of that. Okay. All right. So anyway, it is now time for 2 minutes with Terry. Here you go, Terry.
Okay, welcome to the last Christian Short, Armor Upgrade, Part 4, Feet shod with the Gospel of Peace. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. Ephesians 6, 10, and 11. We have girded our loins with truth. Next, we have put on the breastplate of righteousness to guard our hearts against spiritual invasion. Now we are to shod our feet with the gospel of peace. The word shod from the Greek is more clearly understood by the phrase to bind underneath. If one were going to make a long journey, one was to shod or bind underneath the feet sandals secured for the trek. And a definition of bind in this context yields the understanding of to make secure by tying. In Mark, Jesus sends out his 12 disciples, Mark chapter 6 and 7 through 9, and he called unto him the 12 and began to send them forth by 2 and 2, and gave them power over unclean spirits, and commanded them that they should take nothing for their journey, save a staff only, no scrip, no bread, no money in their purse, but be shod with sandals, and not put on 2 coats. Jesus' emphasis on shodding the sandals, ensuring they are securely tied, reveals a long journey ahead, perhaps even over arduous trails. Later, during the Passover supper, Jesus' last, in Luke 22:35 through 36, Jesus will dispatch his disciples once more with expanded orders. The Lord willing, we shall examine those in the near future. Returning to our present course, we now focus on the kind of sandals we are to be wearing. Sandals fashioned in the gospel of peace, with great tidings abounding through Holy Writ. We focus on perhaps Jesus' greatest introductory promise to all who choose to follow him, yet are still fearful of the journey ahead.
And with that, Terry, I'm going to have to cut you off right there, and we'll pick that up in the second half of the newscast today. A quick reminder for those of you that do not receive both parts. of the Last Christian Newscast and radio show. You can watch the entire version anytime you want. Just go to www.lastchristian.net. That's www.lastchristian.net. Also, really appreciate the radio affiliates that continue to pick us up. And you can go to that same website, www.lastchristian.net. You can find the show there and how you can add it to your radio station at absolutely no cost to you. And you can do that within just a couple of minutes. All you got to do is just look at the information that you discover there. Terry, going back for just a second, I told you that I had received reports and I had overlooked it. I do have the actual report here from the United States. This is out of Washington, D.C. It says the downing of a U.S. drone by a Russian jet is part of a pattern of military behavior by Russia that is becoming more aggressive. That's what the U.S. top general said. Now, this is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley. And again, he said there's a pattern of behavior recently where there is a little bit more aggressive actions being conducted by the Russians. Milley added that it was likely that the drone broke upon impact in the Black Sea in 4,000 to 5,000 feet of water and would be difficult to recover. Not impossible to recover. It's possible somebody could recover it, but it'd be difficult. Well, I think the Russians, if they're interested in the technology we have, they probably don't care if it's hard to do that or not. Just my that's just my personal take on it. Okay, but when you talk about number one, the World Court talking about taking Putin to court and trying him as a war criminal, and you talk about the drone downing or whatever, conflict there, it begins to get increasingly scary, for lack of a better word, as to how Russia is going to respond to certain things. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, if I didn't know Jesus and wasn't looking forward to the rapture, I would be shaking in my boots.
Yeah.
If I knew Jesus and I thought the tribulation was going to happen first, there are many Christians that believe that, I would still feel a whole lot better than what the people who do not have any belief in Jesus, have no understanding of the Bible. My goodness, I would be very scared.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And there's more. There always is. I'm going to play. I'm going to play a clip here from the Watchman Newscast, Eric Sacklebuck. And as a reminder to everybody, I am a member of the United States Press Association. I do play these clips, and he knows I play these clips along with all the other news agencies. One thing, as a matter of fact, I have. Hope I can get it up here, Terry, and then also hope I can remember what you told me. But anyway, I've told you guys that I get reports from all over the world, basically every news organization in the entire world. I get these on a daily basis, and this one just happens to be from this morning's edition. Let me see if I can get over there. This is Reuters news agency. Am I close, Terry? Okay. There you go. Okay. You got it. You can see that says weekend briefing. Okay. This is 17 pages of just topics. It doesn't, it's not details of the news. It's 17 pages of headlines. And so I go through there and I look at these headlines, and then I go through and I research them on several different news agencies to come up with the one or two news reports that I play. So you can see it's an in-depth study is what it is. And so I'm also not censored. Okay, so in other words, I get the news whether or not the mainstream, lamestream, leftist crowd wants me to get them or not. I get everything, everything. And so I want you guys to remember that as you watch these newscasts. But anyway, this is from the Watchman today, Eric Sacklebuck, and take a listen to this one.
Talking about Russian alliances and presence in the Middle East right now, this week through Sunday, we have Russia, Iran, and China conducting naval drills in the Gulf of Oman. Now, this is the third time in the past few years, 2019 and 2022 as well. These three nations part of what I call the Gathering Storm Coalition: Russia, Iran, China, and North Korea. This is the third time these three members of that Gathering Storm Coalition have joined together and conducted major military drills in the past few years in the Middle East. Of course, as we outlined today, Russia wants a presence there. They are there to stay. Iran is obviously a Middle Eastern nation. They're looking to flex their muscle greater throughout the region. But folks, China also, like Russia, has larger designs outside of their region, and it always seems that nations with superpower aspirations are pulled down to the world's most strategic and chaotic region, the Middle East. Now, China last week, as we reported here in the newscast, brokered that deal between Saudi Arabia and Iran. These two countries, which were at loggerheads for the better part of 7 years, now are set to restore diplomatic relations. Israel is none too happy about that as well, but China now sees itself as a major player in the Middle East increasingly, and to take arguably the two most influential Muslim nations, Saudi Arabia certainly on the Sunni side, Iran certainly on the Shia side, and bring them together and broker what seemed like an unlikely peace deal at the very time that Israel was saying, hey, we may be about to strike peace with Saudi Arabia and bring them into the Abraham Accords. China sees that as a coup for its international standing and its reputation, in particular in the Middle East. So the timing of these drills, again, this week, no coincidence, the regime in Beijing flexing its muscle as well. And the U.S. response was rather interesting. A White House spokesman said, well, we're watching it. All nations conduct drills, and we're watching it closely. Kind of a shrug of the shoulders. At the same time, yes, all nations do conduct drills. We reported here in the newscast on Tuesday. If you missed it, check it out in our archives, that the U.S. and Israel, the U.S. and Israeli Air Forces, are conducting a joint drill right now in Nevada. So yes, nations do conduct drills, but when arguably your three greatest adversaries, Iran, China, and Russia, are together conducting major military drills in the world's most strategic and chaotic region, where, by the way, U.S. troops are still stationed, you would think that might garner more of a response.
You would think it would garner a response, but of course it doesn't. At the same time, it does bring us back to Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39, and Eric calls it the growing coalition or whatever, and really that's exactly what it, gathering storm is what he called it.
Yeah,
and,
there you go.
And that is exactly what it is, because now you see that Russia and China are coming together as good friends when they basically had been, I won't call them bitter enemies or anything like that, but they weren't friendly for decades, okay, ever. And now all of a sudden they have come together as good friends, and they are coming together as good friends with Iran and with North Korea, both of which hate Israel. You see not only a gathering storm, you see a growing coalition, which brings us back to point one of the newscast today, which is that GOG and MAGOG Alliance for the upcoming GOG and MAGOG war. Do you not see this, Terry, as something that is
absolutely
very much in prophecy? Go ahead.
Yeah, and I want to throw this in so people understand where we are on this. Iran and Saudi Arabia, a lot of people are not aware, have deep, very deep-seated theological differences. One believes the Mahdi or the Messiah is coming from one line of their world. The other country believes the Messiah is coming from another, and there are some other theological points they disagree on. Right. So they're being brought together. What they're doing for the moment is laying aside their religious beliefs, because they're seeing a greater thing being played here, and this is what we're seeing happening going on. That's why it fits in so well with Ezekiel 38.
Right. Yeah, the Shiites and the Sunnis are not friendly. And and that is something that's demonstrated with Saudi Arabia and with Iran, as you just mentioned. And it has been a major reason why the two countries have not gotten along at all.
Yes. Yes.
And as you said, they're putting those aside, and you got to wonder why. And I think it comes down to the fact that the Chinese were the brokers, not the United States. And when the United States go in there, they try to make deals. Okay, well, you got to give a little bit, you got to give a little bit. What China does when they broker a deal is, you're going to do this and you're going to do that, and here's how we will help you come to that. Here's how we will help you do that. But you're going to do it because we said so. And we're a lot bigger than you are, and we're a lot stronger than you are. And if you don't take our advice, well, there could be some consequence. That's how China negotiates. And right now, because the United States is so weak and has such a lack of leadership, the other countries are saying, well, the United States isn't going to help us. We've got to listen to these Chinese, and we've got to do what they tell us. And you're going to see more and more of this happen, in my opinion, as China continues to take over as the true leader of the world. I believe that's coming. I really do. I think the United States is going to fall off the world stage. Now, before we run out of time here in the first half, and we'll get into this one a little bit more in the second, but this is something I want to mention before the first half ends to encourage you to stick with us. I've got a report here, and this may change your opinion of the Ukraine. And it may change your opinion of the Ukraine a lot. So the Zelensky government steps up persecution of the Russian-affiliated Orthodox Church amid military losses. In other words, they're going after Christians now. And I've got a report in my hand of how significant that is going to be, what they are intending to do over the next few days, not weeks, not months, days before they begin to do this. It is impactful. And I will tell you this very quickly, that I'm trying to find the exact number of people, the exact number of Christians. I thought it was here on the first page, but it's not. So I'm going to have to save that until the second half of the show, because we are running it out. But what this does is it shows you the growing Christian church in the Ukraine, that the church is growing and growing and growing. And now Zelensky is going to actually use the Christian church as a response to a Russian invasion. He is putting them into the Russian camp, and that, in my opinion, is a huge mistake on his part. Again, if you do not get the second half of the Last Christian Newscast and Radio Show, please go to www.lastchristian.net. For the rest of you, we'll be back right after this very short break.
Attention podcasters, influencers, media personalities, content creators, and aspiring or existing radio personalities. KRRB Revelation Radio now offers the opportunity to broadcast or syndicate both new or existing shows to all 50 states and more than 160 countries around the world. And if you currently operate a radio station, we offer you the opportunity to add several popular shows in virtually every genre for broadcast on your station. Choose programming from 30 minutes to 2 hours, with each internationally syndicated show adding quality content sure to grow your listening audience. We even have excellent optional services to help you promote your show or station. These services are not only designed for audio use on the radio, but also include tools for use on social media, even YouTube. For more information, visit www.revelationradio.net or email the Ustreamit LLC Broadcast Network at office@ustreamit.net today.
And welcome back, everybody, to the second half of the Last Christian Newscast and Radio Show. Again, my name is J.D. Williams here in East Texas, and my good friend, Mr. Terry Farley, there in Dallas. And Terry, we just suffered through a major electronic issue. Basically, I'll just be honest with you guys. Basically, we did the second half of the show, and I didn't record it. So, if something gets repeated, well, that's because I don't remember exactly where we were at. If something gets left out, I'll make sure it doesn't get left out when we come to the next show, if we're granted a next show. Anyway, what we were talking about I do know for sure, as the first half of the show broke, was about the persecution of Christians by the Zelensky government in the Ukraine. And I find this very, very disturbing because, well, the world, I think, is on Ukraine's side. And apparently, I guess Zelensky thinks that if you have anything to do with Russian at all, any kind of involvement with Russia at all, that you're an enemy. I think the closest thing I can come to this happened here in the United States of America in the 1940s. And when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, President Roosevelt actually placed Japanese American citizens into, no other way to say it, concentration camp inside the United States of America.
Yeah, that's what they were. That's what they were.
They were citizens of the United States, and I don't know what the percentage was, but I bet it was really high that were really American citizens in every way, and they're simply punished because their ancestors were from Japan, or maybe they were from Japan and immigrated legally or whatever. And that's about the closest thing I can come to what Zelensky has done. But he has actually told these churches in the Ukraine, the priests there, that to get out of your churches. We're going to come in, we're going to take over, we're going to prevent you, we're taking you out. We're taking you out. Now, that's Christian persecution, Terry, and that's dangerous. What are your first impressions
Plain
of that?
and simple. Yeah, it's plain and simple. It needs to be obvious to people. I wish there was more reporting on it. They actually have a group in Washington, D.C. that monitors persecution of Christians around the world. And they're, of course, adding this to that great long list.
Without a doubt.
Folks, let this be, as all of these other terrible things that are happening, let these be an encouragement to you to turn to the Bible, because it explains all of it in detail and more clearly than the news people. And there's some of them are doing a good job, like Joel, doing their best. But that's where you can get the real hook on this thing. I don't mean to use the word with Ezekiel 38, but anyway, you get the picture.
Well, it plays into Ezekiel 38, that's for sure, because the Ukraine is between Russia and Israel. So, that definitely plays in. But anyway, more on this story regarding the escalating prosecution of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. Zelensky appealed to both Ukrainian nationalism and religious separatism in justifying the move, claiming that one more step towards strengthening our spiritual independence was taken this week. So he's stepping into the religious context here. He's not a priest, he's not a pastor, he's not a minister. I don't even know if he's Christian or not, but he's telling the Ukraine what they can and cannot practice as far in their religious moves. He said the move is a clear signal to ramp up religious and ethnic conflicts in the war-torn country, and an indication that this is just the beginning of a broader campaign. Zelensky stated, "We will continue this movement. We will not allow the terrorist state any opportunity to manipulate the spiritual life of our people." Well, I'm sorry, but you are already stepping on the spiritual life of your people. You are already in violation of that by what you're doing. Now, here's what I touched on in the first half of the show as far as numbers go. In 1991, there were only 39% of Ukrainians that identified themselves as Orthodox Christian. 39%. Thinking about 39%, I'm thinking that's about where the United States is. I mean, I'm not.
Could be.
I know it's not 50% anymore. And, it used to be much higher than 50%. Yeah, but I know that it has at least come down. But anyway, by 2015, here's a big report. By 2015, a Pew Research Center study found that approximately 78% of Ukraine's adult population identified as Orthodox Christian. So from 1991, 39%, to 2015, they're at 78%. That's huge. That is a huge increase in the number of Christians.
Thank you, Jesus.
Okay, and here comes the persecution now from Zelensky attacking Christian churches. So now, again, I've never said I'm a prophet, but I do have opinions. I do see a lot of news reports, and I'm going to warn Mr. Zelensky right now. You start going after churches, God ain't going to like it. So you want the world's support, you may get the world's support, but if you lose God's support, you just lost, sir. 100%.
Game over.
So, yeah.
Game over.
Definitely. So he better watch out. He better watch out as where he goes with that. Any comments on that?
Yeah, it is game over. When they have been persecuting the Christians since they nailed Jesus to the cross, and guess what? It's all over the world. I laugh at the universities in America taking Jesus off of their teaching schedules and so forth, and they're living in and working and studying in buildings all across these large campuses with huge crosses on the buildings. And, they're going to have to tear them all down, hey, folks, Jesus is real.
Yeah. Well, I interviewed a guy this past week for one of my podcasts that I do, the Last Christian Podcast. I've got another one, it's Primetime Somewhere, that I do. This one was on the Last Christian Podcast, and he had been stationed in South Korea for a number of years, and he said that while he was stationed there in the military, that he could see crosses at night that were pointed toward North Korea from South Korea that were lit up. He said they've never seen anything like it in my life. They were beautiful. That's the first time I've ever heard that. You were in the Army. I don't know if you were ever stationed over there or not, but
no, not Korea. Yeah. But I'll tell you, I did see lots of churches all across Europe. Oh yeah, and they're going to have to talk to the Lord when they meet Him, because there are large, beautiful cathedrals all across Europe. It doesn't matter; nobody believes. Jesus left His imprint. He left His message.
Well, and He said the gospel will be preached all over the world, and it is being preached.
That's right.
All over the world right now. Now, I'm not sure if I mentioned this in the first half of the show, so I'm going to go ahead and maybe give you a repeat on it. But Syria, in Syria, President Assad is welcoming the Russians. He wants them in. I do have some reports I've got on that I hope to get on in video form for people next week. But he's actually saying, I want Russia. Not only do I want them in, I want them here permanently. I want more troops, and I want them here permanently. At the same time, he's saying, I want Iran out. They said no. I want the United States out. We're not going to go. But he's welcoming Russia. He wants Russia in there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, here's the reason he wants Russia in there. Because Israel overflies Syria to hit targets, not only Iranian targets, but in some cases Syrian targets. Yeah. He figures the more Russians he gets in there, the less out that Russia's going to be to say it's okay to overfly us. And if he does that, and if he is successful in doing that, then GOG, MAGOG war. Here we go. Isaiah 17:1. Here we go. So you better, people had better start paying attention to that. But I thought it was interesting to again, these are news reports. I get them all the time, and he wants Turkey out too. Turkey. And I feel like the reason he wants Turkey out is because they're still a member of NATO. I mean, NATO in name only, obviously, but they're still in NATO, and I think he wants them out simply because they are affiliated with that. Also, another thing that I know I didn't mention yet. This is where President Xi of China is going to meet with the Russian President Putin next week. Okay, news reports coming out on that as well, and they're calling this. Get ready for this one. I mean, you ever want to say GOG Magog war? This is a really clear. They're calling this a no limits partnership. No limits partnership. Yeah. So if you got a no limits partnership and Russia decides that they're going to attack Israel, what do you think China's going to do?
Yeah, they're going to be right with them. Yeah.
Right there with them. Okay,
absolutely.
And that's something that we have been talking about. Okay, the world is moving toward more and more of a financial crisis, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. First of all, I got to give Terry his time. Okay, so I'm going to give Terry time, 2 minutes with Terry, and then we're going to get into this world financial crisis, which I believe again plays into the whole GOG Magog war and beyond. So anyway, here you go, Terry.
Later, during the Passover supper, Jesus' last, in Luke 22:35-36, Jesus will dispatch his disciples once more with expanded orders. The Lord willing, we shall examine those in the near future in detail. Returning to our present course, we now focus on the kind of sandals we are to be wearing. Sandals fashioned in the gospel of peace. With great tidings abounding throughout Holy Writ, we focus on perhaps Jesus' greatest introductory promise to all who choose to follow him, yet are still fearful of the journey ahead. In Matthew 11:28-30, Jesus calls with great encouragement, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light." We now have the truth to light our path in journey, the gospel of peace. We hold the breastplate of righteousness to shield us from Satan's attacks. We now have added the eternal gospel of peace, firmly secured to our feet, prepared to go where he leads, following his steps as he ordered. Next, we shall be equipped with the shield of faith, whereby we will be enabled to quench all of the fiery darts of Satan, its provision, place, and purpose engraved in the very word of God. We shall dismiss for now until, the Lord willing, we will assemble again to gain the full complement of God's armor. And that is the short.
Amen. Amen, Terry. I was, as you were finishing up there, looking back, see exactly where we needed to take up, what we really didn't get into yet. And one of those things, of course, is the financial crisis. And, people may not think it's biblical, may not think that it's something that we need to pay attention to, until they realize that right now, if the world was to listen to the United Nations or the most leftist areas, they would hear about this. And I'm going to mute you here for a second. They would hear about the finances, the way that everyone wants to come together under one financial system, the Great Reset. Okay, and what people don't realize, and again, this is something I'm going to try to get to next week, if the Lord gives us next week. China's government is calling for that Great Reset and for there to be one world government, one government. Now, I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure out who they would like to see as the one world leader if China's calling for it. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't believe that China is going to ever achieve that. I really don't. But the fact is they've now put their finger on it. They put their weight on it, and there's a lot of people that are into it. But the only way that would happen is if you had some kind of disaster, right? I mean, why would you want to give up? Why would the United States want to give up its currency? Why would Russia? Why would anybody? Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we got another taste of it this week, and let's just listen to these reports, and you'll get some kind of idea here. Let's listen to this one.
The Bank of England was holding emergency talks with international counterparts last night amid rising concerns as the crisis deepens in Swiss bank Credit Suisse Group AG, the Telegraph reported.
The report comes after the turbulence at Credit Suisse renewed fears of a banking crisis that is reshaping international financial conditions on a daily or even hourly basis. Bank of England declined to comment. Libby St. James reporting.
Okay, now that's just one. Okay, that's just one report. All right, let's listen to this one.
Global markets have been reacting to a major US bank injection of $30 billion to rescue troubled lender First Republic Bank. The unusual move marks an attempt to restore calm and stabilize the markets following a volatile week, as Sally Patterson reports.
Some of the US's biggest banks, including Morgan Chase, Citigroup and Bank of America, were involved in the rescue. The lenders will deposit billions of dollars each, saying in a joint statement that it reflects their confidence in First Republic and in banks of all sizes. US regulators called the move most welcome and said it demonstrates the resilience of the banking system. News also emerged on Thursday that Credit Suisse will borrow as much as 50 billion francs, around $54 billion, from the Swiss National Bank liquidity facility. Okay.
Now, you heard the mention there of the First Republic Bank. That okay. Well, I went to First Republic Bank's website myself, and if you look on their website, you will eventually discover that there's problems if you dig deep enough. Okay. But if you were just to go to their website as somebody that knows absolutely nothing about anything, you're not going to see any degree of issue. You're going to think this is a great bank. Let me go ahead and open an account and get on with life, right? From March 12th, and this is on the very front page of their website, it says First Republic Bank strengthens and diversifies liquidity. Does that sound like a bank that's in trouble to you? I mean, really? I mean, it said that it's a leading private bank and wealth management company. Today said it further enhanced and diversified its financial position through access to additional liquidity from the Federal Reserve Bank and J.P. Morgan Chase Company. I mean, to me, it sounds like that they're really saying, hey, all is good here. We're strong. Okay. That was March 12th. Okay.
Yes.
That's like 2 days before they shuttered. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can't tell me that they really didn't know something was coming. Okay. Nobody will ever convince me of that. Also on their website as well, you have to dig a little deeper. From March the 16th. Now here, this one really caught my attention. This is a headline here. It says 30 billion in, here's the key word, 30 billion in uninsured deposits committed from America's largest banks. In other words, we're in trouble, but we're getting this infusion of money, okay, in unsecured loans from other banks. Okay, so now I'm not asking you this question, Harry. I'm asking this of everybody. Would you be comfortable? Would you be comfortable if your bank was sending money to this bank that's having problems? Okay, so in asking yourself that question, ask yourself if you happen to have any money here. We would like to share our deep appreciation for Bank of America, Citigroup, J.P. Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Bank of New York Mellon, PNC Bank, State Street, Truist, and U.S. Bank. So if you hold an account with any one of those banks, are you happy that they're sending billions of dollars from your bank to try and help this bank that's going under, or does that concern you maybe just a little bit?
Oh man, am I on now? This is terrible. I'm not. I can't listen. You have no idea what you just read. You have no. Listen, I'm gonna have to leave right now. I'll be back. I promise. I think I'll be back.
My bank was not mentioned, so I'm okay. But
I was wondering why you were reading that.
But there's a lot of people that should be concerned because the FDIC does protect the normal investor or the normal deposit of normal people, but the FDIC doesn't. They got nothing to do with this $30 billion. This is $30 billion that's being sent to this bank unsecured, okay, uninsured, unsecured. If they go under, it goes away, okay. So, could your bank, whoever you are out there, could your bank survive $2, $3, $4 billion of its money just all of a sudden gone? They're not getting it back. It is gone. Would your bank survive that? That's the question that you've got to ask, because if that bank, if First Republic Bank, that's the name of it, right? Yeah, First Republic Bank. If First Republic Bank goes away, if it totally clashes, then that's $30 billion that nobody is ever going to see again. It is gone. So, are you happy about that? And my personal position is no. But here's the deal: if this was to happen, this brings us to the point of that one world government, that one currency, okay? And that's what's spoken of in the Bible. The Bible tells us there will be that one world government where you've got to have a mark of the beast, right hand or forehead, in order to buy or sell anything at all. This is all coming together. It's coming together right now, Terry, right now.
Yeah.
And people have to realize that when this happens, that just like there's a last play in a football game, there is that last individual to accept Christ. Now, somebody's going to be the one right after the rapture, but they got to go through it, right? Okay?
Yeah.
So time's running out. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but time is running out. All you've got to do is accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. Just tell God you know you're a sinner. Ask Him for forgiveness. Tell Him you know Jesus Christ died for you on the cross, that He spent 3 days in the tomb, that He rose from the grave just like He said He would, that He went to heaven. He promised Christians, all living and dead, that He would come back before God unleashes His wrath, get them all in the clouds, take them with Him, and then unleash that wrath. And time's running out. In my opinion, time is running out. We are looking at it. We are watching it unfold in the media right before our very eyes. If you don't believe me, go to Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39 and Isaiah 17:1. These are prophecies that will be fulfilled. Not maybe, not could happen, not okay, maybe it, maybe not. No, they will happen. This will happen. Why? Because everything the Bible says has happened. Everything the Bible has predicted has happened. It hasn't been wrong a single time. It's not going to be wrong this time. Ezekiel 38 and 39 will play out. Isaiah 17:1 will play out. I guarantee it. I say that not as a prophet, not even as a newscaster. I say that as a Christian who believes that the Bible is true and correct from Genesis through Revelation. Terry, anything you want to say?
Yeah, it never. The Bible never prophesied anything that either did happen. They prophesied and it happened, or they prophesied and it happened within the next few hundred years, or they prophesied and it's going to happen before the world ends.
Right.
And the world is going to end and God's going to make a new one. That's a whole different sermon. But the point is, understand, if you accept Jesus after the rapture, you're going to be able to be saved, but you're going to have a rough time. The Bible says God is going to give Satan the power to make war against believers, and it says he is going to prevail.
Right.
He's
Amen.
going to win that. He's going to win that battle. He's going to lose the war, but he's going to win that battle, folks, and it's not going to be pleasant.
No.
Miss the thing. Accept Jesus. Call on him. He said, the man prayed, "Have mercy on me, a sinner." And the man left the temple right in God's eyes, because he had given his heart to God and said, "I don't understand anything. All I know is you will save me, Jesus, and he will save you."
Amen. Amen. And
you'll
amen.
start a whole new life. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's the reason that we continually tell people, again, not trying to scare you. I can't scare anybody into salvation. That's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
People can accuse me of doing that, but that's not what I'm doing. Instead, I'm offering you a way to make sure that you go to heaven. That's all. Mm-hmm. I'm making sure. I want you to be sure that you're going to heaven. Terry writes about it in Blast Off Rapiemur in his 5th edition. I do encourage people to go to T.L. Farley Books, look for the book Blast Off Rapiemur in its 5th edition. It will point you out many scriptures you can go to where you can have that assurance that, number one, the rapture is real. Number two, that it's going to happen. Number three, that it's going to happen fast. Number four, that you are going to be involved in it, whether or not you're taken up or not. You're going to be involved in it.
Right.
If you're taken up, you're good. If you're left behind, I feel for you, because the Bible makes it pretty clear that it's really hard for somebody that's heard the gospel to receive Christ. So I wouldn't count on getting that second chance. Maybe you will. If you're hearing this after the rapture, you know what happened now. So go ahead and accept Jesus Christ. Now look, we're out of time for this show. If we have another day, if we have another opportunity, we'll be back. We will help you. We'll try. We'll do everything we can. If you only get one half of the show, go to www.lastchristian.net. That's www.lastchristian.net. You can get all of the information that you ever want. If we have another show, we'll be back next week. If not, you know what happened. Until good night and God bless.
Thanks again for joining us today for the Last Christian Radio Show. And be sure to tune in every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday right here on Revelation Radio. And don't forget to join us every Wednesday evening at 7:30 p.m. Central for the Last Christian Podcast. Now available on all major podcast platforms and at www.lastchristian.net. Until the trumpet sounds.